Yeah, just comes in.
CPU usage, I'm going to talk about it in a second, but I do want to tell you the differences between the two. CPU profiling was improved. You get full CPU profiling with, within your debug session. You just have to enable it. So you will see this box. So this is the same tab that I clicked, whereas before it said, do not, you cannot get this without going to Diagnostic Tools without debugging. Here you just need to click this link and you can actually get full CPU profiling within those tabs on your Diagnostic Tools window. This is what you would get. You would be able to drill down to all this kind of information, and this is the exact same kind of things that I'm going to show you in about 2 seconds with through the Diagnostic Tools window without debugging. So you can see your line here, all that kind of paging information. So start Diagnostic Tools without debugging. To be honest, I did not even know this existed until I started prepping for this demonstration. So this is, was a kind of a hidden feature for me. So this is kind of neat that I actually got to play around and discover this all through this. So yeah, this is a true representation of your CPU and memory. Debug it without the added overhead of the debugger. So if you want to get a true representation of how much CPU, memory, network, you can get GPU if you're doing a graphics intensive project. You can get all that information through this window without having that overhead of the debugger, because it's basically stepping out of the Visual Studio IDE and it's running outside of the Visual Studio IDE. You only get the analysis though when the profiling session is complete, meaning you will just get a blank screen until you click stop, stop tracing or stop profiling, and then it will grind and it will give you the full demonstration, the full root CPU analysis that it's found. It contains additional features like application timeline and network usage, and you can combine boxes. You can use more than one box. So if you want to do application timeline, network usage, and CPU usage all in one, you can do that. I actually ran one yesterday with timeline usage, GPU, and CPU, and I think then I ran them all, got them all up and running. So, tip from Microsoft is try putting your project in release mode to really make sure that the bug here is not active and it's not causing any slowdowns for you. So set your project in release mode and go into Start Diagnostic Tools without debugging and run that. So we're going to show you this. There's a couple of cool features with this that are kind of fun, and we'll have a look at what this is. Actually, I'm going to go back to my text editor project. It's a little less gangly and it should run a little bit quicker. Debug, start Diagnostic Tools without debugging. So if this guy right here, Alt F2. So show Diagnostic Tools is Control Alt F2. Start Diagnostic Tools without debugging is Alt F2. If you remember those two, just hit Control Alt F2 or F2. Alt F2, you'll get one of the things that you want, and you're good to go. Click this, and this is the kind of screen that you're going to get. You can see these are the checkboxes I was talking about. So application timeline, which is kind of like the IntelliTrace events timeline, where you can scope out and see where everything is happening along the way. And if you're running your project for 30 seconds, and you want to know what happened at the first millisecond, you can get all that kind of information. If you're running a graphics intensive program, you can get GPU usage, CPU usage. Now you can see that certain things are grayed out though. So if I got CPU usage checked and application timeline, I can't get to memory and I can't get to performance wizard. If I start on clicking things though, everything comes back into scope. So I can do memory, but now everything else is grayed out. So there are some combinations you can play with, but not everything is going to be available all the time. So just think about that as we move along here as well. There are things called startup projects. The startup project is, by default, the project that you're running. So my text editor project is the startup project, but it doesn't have to be the only thing that I can use with this. I can do a running Windows Store app. I can do an installed Windows Store app, meaning if I've downloaded the Kindle app I can actually run this against the Kindle app or the Mahjong app, which I've already done, and I can show you what it looks like, or any of the installed apps. I can run it against Internet Explorer on Windows Phone, an executable, or ASP.NET project running on my local IIS. So those are the kinds of targets that you can set when you want to run this application. I'm going to go back and I'm going to uncheck this guy, and I'm going to go here, and yeah, let's take those two. So I'm going to take the startup project, and we're going to run this. So to run it, you don't press F5, you click the blue start button. So again, we're not using the debugger up here, we're not running the project per se, we are running this. So you can see that it's collecting data, but it wants my interaction. So I'm going to go down, edit my little file. It should stay at the bottom because I've already saved. So I've done that. I can close this. No. And now it's stopping. If I had left that window open and clicked stop profiling, it would have done the same thing. It would have just stopped, killed the program. And now it's collecting all that diagnostics information. And you can see it's telling me that I've got application timeline and CPU usage. So this is the kind of information you're going to be able to pull out. Again, this is my threads. So this is my events timeline. Here's my diagnostic timeline as I'm rolling along. Here's all my threads. Here's all my visualization. All of this stuff is clickable. All of this stuff is zoomable. So I can go in here and do this and start zooming in. I can clear the selection and get back to my thing here. On the application timeline, all of these are available as well. So you can start drilling down into all of these. If I want to know what's happening in the layout, in the main window, in the border, all of this information is available to me, and I can get all the information here over here on the left-hand side as to what's happening with that element at that time. On the CPU usage, this, if you remember what the image looked like from my slide, this looks very similar, just go back, to what that was showing. It's all this stepped kind of tree view about all the different total CPUs on the different file clicks and menu clicks and button save file clicks. And you can see here that on this code block, this is where most of the CPU is pegging. I'm at 68.86%. Now again, this isn't the photo solution, this is the smaller of the solution, but you can kind of see where all of the CPU time is being spent here. And that's the total CPU and the self CPU, and as it's going through. So if you find that you're pegging at certain points, or you're using 2 out of 4 cores on one certain little section of code, this is a quick and easy way to get and drill down and find that information. Again, if you're using update 1, you don't really have a need to use this. You would get all that same information already within the Diagnostic Tools window. We can save this out if we want. We can do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. So I can save this out. I can save this report and have it ready to go. You can kind of see here, it's going to give it a name, and we can include this. Maybe we want to take, I'm a QA and I want to keep running these once a week until I know the project is up and running. We can get all this kind of information here. And again, you get nice kind of little donut graphs and all that kind of stuff, and as you're pegging down here, and you can see what's happening along the way as you go, and you can click each one of these to see what actually happened at each one of these points along the timeline. So that's start Diagnostic Tools without debugging. No, let's get rid of this. If you want to know what it looks like when you run GPU, this is what I've run for GPU. So again, this is the Mahjong report. I also ran it as an edge report. I'll show you what that means in a quick second. But it generates so much GPU usage that you actually have to tell it which range within 3 seconds do you want before it can pull back the data, because it's grabbing so much data and so much graphics intensive data that you actually have to tell it in a 3-second increment as you go along what it's actually pulling back for you. So if you're doing a lot of GPU usage stuff, maybe you're developing games or any of that kind of thing, and you want to drill down into that hardcore stuff, you can get that. If you want to do the cool thing with diagnosing Edge or Kindle or any of that kind of stuff, you would use installed app. Again, this might be something you might have written your own Windows 10 app and installed it on your machine, and now you want to see how it performs once it comes back out of the Windows Store. You can choose Mahjong, any of the installed apps here. You can choose Bing, IE. If I choose Edge, click select, and just say, give me that and that. Nice, elevate. As I'm clicking around here, if I go back and say stop collection, you can see that I'm collecting information on an app that isn't even mine and on code that isn't even mine, which is kind of neat because I can actually go and see how performant Microsoft's code is, if I really want to. So I can actually go through and grab all that kind of information, if I care. So that's basically all I want to talk to you about that one there. I'm going to just I want to tell you one more thing here. So there are some additional diagnostic tools that you can use. There is something called the IntelliTrace Standalone Collector. And basically this is for remote machines. So if you are responsible for a deployment on a remote machine, maybe up north or something, and you want to know how it's running, you can actually deploy this on that remote machine, and it's going to start putting all that information into an iTrace file. That iTrace file can then be taken off that machine by a system administrator and sent to you. And you can import that actually right into Visual Studio and start playing around with it within the Diagnostic Tools window. So again, a nice little tool that you can actually go around and play with. Second thing is Application Insights. I talked about Application Insights last year here. It's grown phenomenally since the last time I talked about it. There are so many things now in Azure with Application Insights, especially now with Visual Studio 2015. You don't have to go and get SDKs anymore. You can bring all that information in. It's all baked into the Visual Studio IDE now. All you have to do is click a checkbox and say, yes, I want to start pushing metrics out to Application Insights. So if you even want more information or projects that, Windows Home projects, Windows Store projects, different kinds of projects that you can't monitor with the Windows diagnostic tools, you can actually start using Application Insights and pushing telemetry data out to Azure and pulling back all kinds of reports and dashboards and KPIs and everything else, any other buzzword that you want to think about. So you can go and grab all that. The final little thing I want to talk to you about is PerfView. Has anybody heard of PerfView? Awesome. Cool. PerfView is a cool little tool that kind of came out about 2012, I think. 2012.
I was using it by the end of 2012.
Yeah, it came out. It kind of flew under the radar for a long time, and now it's kind of it's used really heavily inside of Microsoft, and they still put out updates to it every now and again. And if you want really intensive analysis of your CPU and memory related issues, PerfView is the thing to use. So I actually downloaded it. We can look at it quickly. We've got a couple more minutes. And it's a standalone tool. It's just an exe. You just copy it onto your desktop. You double click it. It's basically, year 2000 .NET technology. You're gonna laugh when you see the UI on it. They didn't spend much time on the UI, but it's an excellent tool. It gives you all kinds of information on it. So I'll just give you a quick view of what that is as well. To find PerfView, type PerfView into your browser, and it's right there. It's that simple. Basically, that's all you have to do is get it. Just go there, you download it. It'll run on any OS, any Windows OS, I should say, that you probably have access to.
Ken,
Yes.
is it number one on the Bing search too?
Oh, I would imagine, yeah. Number one on the Bing charts.
Probably pegged there.
Yeah, it's probably ad. If we go down and we have a look, I downloaded it. It's on my desktop. And you'll get a zip file, and once you drag the zip file onto your desktop, again, beautiful, all right? So it looks like a help file from Visual Basic 6. That's basically what it looks like. I mean, it
works really nice.
It's crazy good. Like, I mean, I don't know who built this thing. I think this guy's name is Vance Morrison, and you can tell he spent a ton of time. I mean, he has no design. One core just PowerPoint. It was really cool. If you want to know how you run it, you go and you click run. It will want you to elevate. It needs to be elevated. You can see here that I'm now administrator. You type in tutorial.exe here. You click run command, and it'll just chug along. And what it's gonna put out is this little zip file here. And in this zip file, interesting. There it is. In the zip file, you're going to get all kinds of information here. You're going to get trace info, process events, CPU stacks, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm going to go to the CPU stacks just because a lot of people, that's where you're going to probably be if you're going to want to be doing anything CPU related. When I did this against PowerPoint, obviously PowerPoint was the first one at the top because I ran the tutorial. The tutorial is the first one at the top. And you can see that I ran tutorial.exe on the command line, and that's how I generated all this information. I'm not going to spend too much time in here, but I just wanted you to see what this... Oh, I lost it. Where is it? Come back. If I double-click that, it should open. Come on. It should open a whole file for me. Should, in case. There it is. Oh, did it go to the other screen? Let's come back. Now,
Try Alt space M.
Alt space
M.
M?
Yep, and then start moving an arrow key. No, you lost it. Do Alt there. So yeah, so select the move. Oh yeah, you gotta be on that one. Alt space M.
No.
Nope.
Alt space M. Oops. And then arrow? Man. Worked flawlessly last night.
That's
I'm just gonna kill
I've been
this.
having that.
I'm just gonna open this again.
It's
there it is.
Okay.
Okay. So
It's just gone off screen.
Now, I'm not sure why it's not giving me the information here that I want, but it should open up a whole. There it is.
I know it.
Right click on it. Move. Maximize.
Where is it?
It's on screen.
Hit return. No. Okay. Now Windows 7. That's sometimes called just drag it back on the screen.
I love it. Group debugging.
No, it's the operating system. The operating system thinks you have another monitor and it's displaying on the other monitor.
Yeah.
And you need to drag it back on.
You could try
So select
Windows
move.
and the left arrow key and try that repeatedly, and it might cycle through to the screen.
No, it's on an invisible monitor.
Yeah.
I
But
run into this at home regularly.
Windows arrow key is a little easier. You can move that between monitors. You're running Windows 10, Ken?
Yep.
Yeah. So just click on the key on the thumbnail at the bottom,
Yep.
and then just the Windows key and the right arrow key, and then just do that a few times.
Click on the one on the bottom.
Activate the window.
Yeah, and then
No. Windows arrow key, right?
Windows and the arrow itself.
Left.
Doesn't
Left
matter.
or right, doesn't matter. Shouldn't matter. Just keep going.
Just keep doing
Man.
No, don't hold, just
Okay,
tap.
then-
Oh, I know. I was.
Try closing it and then opening it again.
Did you close it?
Yeah, you need to make that one up.
Did you restart the machine?
Now double click tutorial.
Man. This was.
Click move, and then just use your arrow key to the left. Or to the right.
I have no idea what the monitor is.
It's down or up, up or down.
Man, it does not like it. Huh.
There it is.
Ta-da! That was so simple. Okay.
You can do this at home.
Oh, we're done. Okay, we're done. Okay, so this is what you would see on the stacks here. And again, the other field there is executing 96% of the tutorial. I don't know what the other field is, but why don't we have a look? I can keep drilling down here and looking at the other things. If you want to get down further, though, you would think, well, I'm just going to double click it. But no, you have to checkbox it. How wonderful is that? You just keep checkboxing stuff until you get down even further. You can just keep going. Now, I mean, you can do an expand all, which sometimes works. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. You might have to do it 2 or 3 times and then eventually it'll go. But you can get all this kind of information. So now I'm on the callers tree. So these are all the people who are calling objects. If I go back to the by name here, and I'm going to just expand all if I can. Oops. So this is all the callers. So the by names are all the objects. These are all the callers. And we can just keep drilling down as much as we want. And we can actually go into those as well. If I want to know who a caller was or the callee or any of that kind of thing, I can actually go to, where was it? I can actually go, I'll go back over here and do all this. I can do a go to. Where is go to? And I can find all the callers for that. All the callers, all the callees, all the call tree, all of those tabs that are up there, I can actually start searching through and going through all those events. So, like I said, there is a crazy amount of tutorials, and it would probably take weeks to kind of learn all the nuances about all this kind of stuff. And you can see, like, he's even put every question mark is a hyperlink about what each column is and everything. Like, he's done a crazy amount of work. It's a really good tool if you need to know the nuts and bolts of your system. It's called PerfView. Check it out. I'm not going to spend any more time on it. I just kind of wanted to highlight the fact that these are the kinds of things you can do with this. And obviously you loved it, so you were using it. So.
Yeah, I got my A-star with landmarks and triangle and quality running about 100 times faster.
Which is great, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, like you get all kinds of information that you didn't even know existed.
Taught me a lot about C# too.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, I'm not supposed to do it that way.
I bet. So again, it's PerfView. If you want any of the other ones, you can just Google them and or Bing them as you prefer, and you can find them there. Resources. There are a bunch of resources about these new tools. The ALM blog there, that is actually a hashtag blog, so it actually has a query string on it that will take you to all the blog articles that I use to help me kind of decipher all this information, especially all those preliminary preliminary slides about what's on what SKU and how they're all used. All that information is kind of out there in bits and pieces. If you want to know anything more about Diagnostic Tools, check out the blog. There's 3 Channel 9 videos. I believe one of them is a build video from last year's build. They had really good build videos. And there's 2 MSDN magazine articles on this as well. If you want the slides, I will give the slides to Lori. I'll also give the sample projects to Lori as well, and you can share them that way. I will put them up on my blog, and I also have a slide share with all of these slides. All of my past slides are all there, and you can find all that kind of stuff as well.
You can also post the links on the comment section in the session.
It's true, yes, yeah, and I can tell you exactly where I actually found some of these things as well. So, and again, if you have questions about this, you go home and you're lying in bed at late tonight, and you're like, oh man, why didn't I ask this awesome question? You can pin me through there, and you can find it. So, and that's it. I won't keep you any longer. Back to the sponsor?
Yes. And then we're going to do draws, and I'm going to double check some names for the draws.